All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. First and foremost, I want to introduce myself. My name is Colleen DeLang. I am staff here at MiRealSource. Also been a realtor for 22 years now. God, it makes me feel old when I say it that way. But I also want to introduce some other panelists on the call. Taylor, can you say hi?
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Taylor. I've worked at MiRealSource for 6 years now, so we'll throw some time there. You maybe have met me doing the photo classes or at events, so I'm just going to be chiming in and helping to demo some things today.
All right, thank you, Taylor. And then we also have Dave DeReese, our CEO. Dave, can you say hi?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. And if we're doing how many years, I got you all beat. I've been in it for over 40 years.
You feel better now, Colleen?
I do. You started when you were like 2, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, there is a panel that should be probably minimized at this point on the right side of your screen. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation today, because we're going to go at a pretty decent clip, we're going to cover a lot of information. If you have any questions at all today, feel free to type them in that question box. And then we will be addressing them. I know Dave's gonna take some, I'll take some, Taylor will take some, so we'll be able to answer your questions.
We already have a couple. One person says they can only see the blue page. Another one.
Yep, that's all that's sharing right now.
Okay, and the other one says I can't see anyone. So you shouldn't see anyone right now then, right?
Correct. Actually, we're just going to show you more inside of the program today. You should at this point be seeing the map of Michigan. I'm happy to announce that we have recently signed a contract with MiRealSource, which are the pink dots over on the left side of the state. So there are currently about 32,500 realtors in Michigan, and I am happy to say that over 30,000 of them now will be participating in the data share. The MiRealSource dots that you see there are going to be available June 1st, I think we said, right, Dave?
Yep.
So you now will have coverage pretty much from coast to coast in the state of Michigan. There's a few more that we're trying to bring on board, but our idea is that you will have all the data you need right in your home MLS platform. With that being said, I think I'm going to turn it over to Dave to tell us a little bit about the state of what's going on, sort of give us a recap of what's happened recently that brought us to this place where we're now working remotely. We're doing virtual property tours and showings and virtual open houses. Dave, can you see that on the screen right now?
Yes, I can.
All right, perfect. You want to give us that recap?
Yeah, what Colleen is showing you was the interpretation from the Michigan Realtors regarding the governor's order from a couple of weeks ago, and where it said that the real estate agents were not essential and we were supposed to stay home. They did say at the bottom sentence there, you'll see it says real estate activity that can be conducted remotely is not prohibited. So we can still work, we just can't leave our home to work. So that's why Colleen has put together that class called remote, what is it called?
Remote and paperless agent.
So lots of people have been taking that to learn how to do business while they're at home. And then the next slide, do you have that next slide?
Yep.
Yeah, that one. Last week is when this came out from the Department of Insurance and Finance, saying that who exactly can leave their home to do work is title companies, inspectors, appraisers, surveyors, register of deeds, and notaries. But the next sentence says real estate brokers and agents do not constitute critical infrastructure workers. In other words, we're not essential and thus may not leave their homes for work. So we've been learning how to do everything from our homes. And now the class that they're going to give you today is about how to do showings, virtual showings and virtual open houses. So there's news on that is the ShowingTime has just added virtual showings as a label, and I think Colleen's going to show you how to utilize that soon. Within hopefully days, they're also going to have a place for a virtual link. Right now, she's going to show you where you can put it in. I think it's comments, but she'll show you that. And then in Paragon, yesterday we added the label for virtual open houses, and within the days we expect to also have a place to put the virtual open house URL link to take you to a hosted live session open house. So everything is changing. We're adding things on the fly. Every day there's something new. So that's why it's important to keep taking these classes as things change.
All right. Dave, do you also want to talk about the Macomb County Health Department thing that you have on your screen right there, the memo that came out?
Oh, that's if you have a property in Macomb County on a septic system, they are not conducting those during the governor's order. So you'll just need to keep that in mind when you write an offer. You have to take that into consideration, make sure it gets handled once the restriction is lifted.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that being said, I know everybody is filled with questions. Everybody's wondering, how do we do business? How do we show properties? How are we doing open houses? How are we working with our sellers? How do we get pictures? So we're going to kind of go over a lot of those questions. But if you have just joined us, if you do have questions anywhere throughout the presentation, feel free to type them in that question box and we will go ahead and answer them. I do want to give you some assurance, though, that a lot of business is still getting done. So I promised Dave I would start every class off with the market monitor showing you that, you know, in the last 2 days, let me go ahead and pull up how many new listings came on the market. In the last 2 days, 320 new listings came onto the market, 140 price changes were done, and 524 listings were actually closed out. If you've ever used our hot sheet, let me just
Colleen,
yes.
Did you notice the new listings on the market went from 304 this morning from our mixing it up to now 320?
Yes, I did. So that means just in the course of 2 hours, how many new listings were put into the system? So transactions are still being done. Obviously, we have to do them a little bit differently, but people are still listing properties. There are always going to be people who get transferred. There are always people who are going to need to sell their homes. Taylor and I just finished the mixing up class right before this one, and we were kind of joking around because we said, you know, how many people are staying in this shelter in place, and how many new babies are going to be born 9 months from now? People are going to need bigger houses. You know, how many people have been sheltering in and realized, yeah, I probably am going to seek out a divorce attorney afterward. This is a lot of time together. So people move, people marry, people divorce, people always need to sell real estate. We've just got to change up how we're doing it while this shelter in place is here. So under date range, if I go 1 day back and I'm looking at pendings, we have 144 properties that went pending in 1 day's time. So business is still being done out there. We've just got to do it in a different way. And there's nobody better, in my opinion, than Taylor to take us through one of the changes that we have to make. And one of the changes is obviously we can't drive to the property and go get the photos ourselves. So Taylor teaches some outstanding photography classes. I've been lucky enough to take them myself as an agent. And she's going to walk you through some of the things that you're going to need to know when you're working with the seller. Can I turn it over to you, Taylor?
Yep. So do you want to hand off the screen, or do I need to do that?
I think, let me see if I am able to do that now. There you go.
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
At the same time.
Here. I thought I was totally doing it faster, but you weren't.
All right. So just to start, now that you have to shelter in place, if you're going to list a home, you need the photos, where you're putting it on the seller to take photos. So sometimes that can be a little overwhelming for the seller as to where to start, what to do, what do I take pictures of. They're not doing this regularly like you. So first and foremost, they're obviously going to need to do photos. They can do a walkthrough tour as well as an option for you, just straight from their phone, and send that tour to you to add into our virtual tour links. But I'm going to be talking about the photos that they can take and some coaching that you can provide to them. So first, when they take photos, a big question is, how do I get photos sent to me from my seller? What's the best way? So I have an article that I wrote a while back that I send out actually kind of regularly, just because it's not really ever going to date itself for a while now. But on our website, there's an article called Streamline Your Real Estate Photography. And it talks about working with an admin or a team member. But for this situation, it would be, you would want to be working with your seller, and ways that your seller can send photos to you. So I recommend Google Drive. You might already have something in place that you do with an admin that works for you, and you can have your seller adopt that. But a really good thing that pretty much everybody has a Google email is you can easily go into Google Drive for your email. That seller can add a new folder. So it's really easy. This is the MiRealSource Google Drive, where I just put videos and photos and things like that. You can just Google Drive. You can type in drive.google.com. As long as you're signed in to your Gmail, that seller can then add a new folder. And then once they're in that folder, they can upload files. And then from there, if they wanted to send you those photos, it's really easy, because then they can just go ahead and open up that folder if they wanted to, or that file, and they right click and hit share. And when they hit share, they email you that, and it's an open link that you can now download those photos that they uploaded into their drive. And you can download them right to your computer, and you can upload them right to Paragon. Really easy, user-friendly, and then if you need any direction, go ahead and check out this article on our website under articles, blogs, and it talks about Google Drive and working between you and an admin or a team member. And for this scenario, replace it with sellers. Now, once you have the photos, that's what you would tell them and how you would communicate your photos together. But what about taking the photos? What should they take photos of? Boost their confidence, give them some place to start. So what I've provided to you guys is a checklist that you can keep for yourself, of course, to use. But in my photos class, I provide this because this checklist is something that moving forward and for right now, you want to send to a seller before you come and take pictures. So it's a really good starting place, because then they can go in and all these things that they could overlook normally, because they've been in their house day in and day out every single day, especially right now. Their house might be clean, but it's not technically photo ready. So providing them this checklist will give them the confidence before they start taking the pictures, whether they use a camera or they use their smartphone. They just have to keep all these things in mind, go through it, really easy to follow. Another suggestion that I make is telling your seller to take their interior photos midday, so that the sun is high in the sky. It's not shining in too harshly in the windows, and they'll get an overall even lit room. They're not going to have to think about lighting too hard. They're not going to have to worry about anything other than making sure that the space is cleaned up and photo ready. And then now they can send you the photos that they take through Google Drive, and you can upload that listing right to Paragon. And I'm going to go over a little bit of
Hey,
the sample. Yep.
Hey, Taylor, before you go too far,
Yep.
that PDF of that checklist, where can they find that PDF?
The handout section right here on GoToWebinar, you'll see handouts for virtual open houses, which we'll be talking about later, and photo staging. So you can just double click that, drag and drop it, and that's something that you just are gonna, the handout for virtual open houses will be a good place to start for if you're gonna conduct virtual open houses. But that photo staging image, you can just keep on your computer and send that to your sellers before they start to take pictures. Another thing just to send to your sellers before they start taking pictures is a photo copyright agreement. So the photo copyright agreement is going to be on our website under services, also an Instanet, and it's an MLS Docs and Paragon.
Somebody said that the photo staging one is a JPEG. Can you send a PDF?
Yeah, I can send a PDF, I think.
Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. I can even send it out directly after the call.
Yeah, I'll have to see the formatting that I have available with that document though. So when you I don't know where I was at, where I lost my place for a second. Oh, working with your seller, another thing that you're going to want to do is your photo copyright document. So before they take pictures, you're going to want to send over a photo copyright so that you have ownership of the photos that you're about to use, since they're the ones who clicked the shutter. So you can find these copyright documents in Instanet, like I said. You can put it as a part of your listing package if you want, or you can just easily go to our website, open up the document under services copyright documents.
Can you show them where the get to that services tab one more time? How do you get to that?
MiRealSource.com, services, copyright documents. And then when you open up that link, you can send that link over to your seller, as well as this is part of Instanet too, so you can easily send it through Instanet. And it's an MLS Docs and Paragon. So we have it kind of sprinkled everywhere for you. You're going to want to use the joint copyright ownership because it's really easy. It's one page document. They still have rights or ownership of their photos if they need to use them for any reason, but you as the agent also have equal rights moving forward, which is really important if you do not take the photos yourself, whether you hire a professional or for this situation, the sellers are going to be taking the pictures. So between coaching them on using Google Drive, making sure they have this copyright document, and giving them the checklist, that should really help them know what steps they need to take, and help you guys and what steps you need to take before you start adding the listing into Paragon. Now, another thing that they can do is a tour. Now, this is an option for you if you would like. Colleen did a great job with her tours. And so I'm going to open up that sample tour that she did. Now, she's the agent. She did this before the shelter in place happened, but your seller can do the exact same thing. But the seller, however, you have to keep in mind that they are not the licensed realtor. They should not be talking about the property specifically, but what they can do is they can tour, they can stay silent, or they can at least just narrate the room that they're in. So some recommendations that I have for doing a tour, which Colleen did, she did a great job. You would walk through the house how you would experience it if they were doing a showing. So from the entrance to the main living space, and I'll show you a little snippet of this video here in just a moment. Recommend that the seller pans, so slowly kind of moves their camera or their phone around the room, and then just gradually move to whatever room connects to that room. So you'll see how Colleen did this. What I try to do in terms of ordering of photos is an entrance, the main living spaces, handle the main floor, and then bedrooms and the bathroom with each bedroom. Make your way outside. That's a great order for organizing the photos. You can follow that doing a tour as well and ask your seller to do that as they walk through their home. Now, if you see what Colleen does, I really like what she did here because it's exactly how you would experience it doing a showing. She just highlights everything that they see as they walk through. So I'm going to show you a quick snippet of that. Colleen will be showing you how you add this link and YouTube and all that. If this is something that is new territory for you, it will be covered in class. But here's an example of a great tour that you can have your sellers do.
Stepping inside here, we have an entrance to the 1.5 car garage. We walk right into the living room. It does have a gas fireplace. And then just off to the left, we have a full first floor bathroom. And then just over here, we have a dining room just off the kitchen. It's very neutral decor. Just outside, you have a spacious deck. And right beyond those trees is Lake St. Clair. As you can see, you have no neighbors to the left as it's an.
So what Colleen did here is she didn't just highlight all the main rooms, she just kind of did it how you would walk through. So whatever feels natural for your seller, just making sure that you tell them that it needs to be how they would walk through the home, highlight and slowly pan. And if there's something that's really cool about the house, like a really nice sink or backsplash, fireplace, they can zoom in when they're in that space too, and zoom out and just make it a really nice transition. So big thing is just building their confidence, giving that checklist, getting that copyright agreement signed, and giving them an expectation of what they can do, because they're not doing this every month or every week like you guys are. So they need that coaching, and hopefully this checklist and this example will get them started so that they are ready to list their home. Because look, just 16 new houses were listed in what, 3 hours, Colleen?
Yeah,
From
I
our
think
class. So
we showed it at 10 and it's 12, so 2.5 hours and 16
yeah.
new listings.
Yeah. So really good starting point for you guys. All right, sorry, we changed up the outline just a little bit. So I want to go through this checklist briefly with you guys too. A couple things just to keep in mind. These aren't just basic cleaning things. These are helpful little tips, like removing the hanging towels and phone chargers and things that are so easily overlooked, that this is something that you can have your sellers do. Granted, we're in shelter in place, and once this is lifted, before you come and take photos and before they go and take photos. So it's a really helpful guideline to get the best possible photos and build that confidence. Let me make sure I'm covered everything real quick.
I think you did a great job, since these and Taylor is so nice to help out so much with this class, because this is constantly changing. So it seems like we put a class together last week, and then there was more to the government order. We had to update the class. So these classes are really, every one is different than the previous one as the situation unfolds. And hopefully in a few days, when hopefully that the quarantine will be lifted, it will be different again.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry, I just wanted to double check I didn't miss anything for this section, but I think I covered everything from sharing the photos to copyrights to sample photos and sample tour.
You are amazing. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for doing that. So as Taylor mentioned, one of the big things to remember, and hopefully you can see my screen. Taylor, can they see the Instanet screen?
Yep.
All right, awesome. One of the things to remember too is that where Taylor mentioned, you can find that form under services. You can also find it right in your Instanet file folders in your form libraries. I like having it here too because it's really easy to send and sign in Authentisign. So all you have to do is open up that copyright forms that are right inside Instanet or Transaction Desk. And then you will see that alternative broker agent. It's a one-page, very simple form, as Taylor mentioned. The nice thing about doing it here too is you can send it right out for signatures. You're simply going to put your name in, and then down below they're going to sign it and print their name and date it. So very, very easy, straightforward, and that does cover video and pictures. The other thing I wanted to mention is, okay, so you've now got the video tour. How do you make it a link? A lot of questions, and you know, everybody has different software that they like. I personally like to do it in YouTube. That's where I've hosted most of mine because it's very simple. I mean, if even I can do it, let's just say. So when we're going into YouTube, you're going to set up an account, and the accounts are free. You can pay for accounts, but there's just a generic account that you can have for free. You're going to put in your name, your email address, and once your account is established, you can actually create a video link, which is what you want to use inside of Paragon and what you want to use so that it goes out to your single property website and other places. You're just going to click on that upload video button. Really very simple. And then once you upload your video, and it'll bring in a drag and drop, or you can select the file right from your computer. So I'm going to just select a file. And I'm going to find the video that I'm looking for. So I'm going to type in, I think it was under Joe here. I just did a couple this week. And so I'm going to grab my video file, and I'm literally going to drag it onto that strip, or I can hit the select button. So it's really not hard. You're just going to find your video file and click on it, and now bring it in. The nice thing is it's going to really do a lot of the hard work for you. It's pulling in that MP, in this case, it was an MP4 file. But again, once they send you that video, the way Taylor just explained, now you're just literally bringing it into YouTube, and it's going to walk you through that process. So it's going to give you a link when it's created. This is what the link will be. You're going to see it's 3 simple steps. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. One of the things it's going to ask you for is it made for kids, or is it made so it's on YouTube? They have a kids-friendly YouTube, it's like kids YouTube, or just generic YouTube. So I'm going to say that this is not made for kids because I want it to be on my channel. And you can list it and unlist it. There's more complicated things. That's a little bit more advanced. We won't cover all of that today. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit next, and it's going to walk me through. It's going to tell me when it's finished processing, and then it's going to go ahead and now give me that link. Now, the reason I keep referencing the link is because that's what you want to put inside of Paragon. And as I said, you can actually save it to be private or unlisted. I'm just going to make it public, and I'm going to publish. So it's really, that's how simple it is. It's going to give me that video link, which is right here. And I'm going to copy that video link because that's what I want to use for Paragon when I'm going into my tours. So I'm now going to go over to my Marshall listing here, the one that Taylor was just showing you. Another thing I recommend while this is loading, set your sellers up with the Collab Center on the sell side. Many of us kind of know a lot of the functionality from what we used to have in the old listing book days. But what's really nice is your sellers can't really go in and see their competition. So many times when I would list a home, or this specific condo that you're looking at, when we listed it, there was another condo in the complex that was a little bit lower priced. So I literally just walked my sellers over and we toured that other listing. Well, we can't really do that now, right? Everyone's sheltering in place. We're staying home. So please set them up in the Collab Center with that sell side piece where you just literally put in the MLS number so they can see competition in their area. They can see if someone dropped their price. They can see the interior photos. They can do all of that right now, right from their home. So once you've got that link that I just showed you from YouTube, we want to go down into maintain our listing. So basically, it's like if you're going to edit your listing. And the section that we want to add the link to is under compensation and tours. So right under compensation and tours, I'm going to expand that section open. And that's where you're going to find 4 fields where you can add tours. Now, if your seller is doing that walkthrough, what you want to do is you want to do that as an unbranded. Now, it doesn't say unbranded, but think of our tours as branded and unbranded. The unbranded tour, which is labeled virtual tour or video tour, that just means it cannot have any contact information at all. Now, I have to tell you, I worked at the MLS for several years, and I did not realize I could also do a tour right out in front of my sign saying, hi, my name is Colleen DeLange. I work at ABC Brokerage. Here's my phone number. I want to help you get into this new condo. And so you can actually do a branded tour. That means you can put your contact information in that tour. And then that's what's picked up like on your single property website. Things that are going out from the MLS will always be unbranded, because remember, if you're sending it to your client, you don't want Joe Schmagegi, the co-oping or the other agent, the listing agent, to be sent to your client. You want it to be your information. So when you're adding in your YouTube link, so you're going to copy and paste it, you're going to add that to virtual tour and video tour. Now, one of the questions that always comes up, well, what is the difference? Well, really, we're just giving you 4 tours that you can add. So maybe you have one, Dave brought up a really good example in our call today. Maybe you have one that is a drone footage tour that you want to do a nice overhead shot of the waterfront area. That might be one video tour. Then maybe you have your seller walking through at this point. Maybe that's your virtual tour. And then if you have something where you maybe do a circle pics or you do a company that's doing them, maybe you want to put that in as your branded. So keep in mind there's 4 different fields. Just make sure that you are putting the unbranded in where it says virtual tour or video tour. Okay. Another.
While you're in there, somebody brought up that about the partial listing and that you would do that here in this add edit section, and what that means to do a partial.
Oh, a partial. Terrific. So if you're doing a partial listing, it's basically allowing you to get your listing all set up, but you haven't made it live yet. And yes, you could go ahead and get all this information, get it all set up and keep it as a partial. Maybe they're not listing the property for a couple more days. You could get this all set up ahead of time and add it in even as a partial without making it live in the MLS.
So if you're getting these piecemeal, maybe on one day you're getting the photos and the next day you're getting the video and the next day you're adding the captions, labels, and descriptions. You can keep working on your, partial listing for 2 or 3 days, and then when it's all done and ready, and that's when the seller wants it to be listed, then you can, make it active.
Correct. And it will actually save your partials for up to 180 days. So you can start working on it. And if they don't list, let's say that they want to paint the house and you're doing this, a little bit at a time, you can go in a month from now and add the additional stuff in and make it live. So it's kind of like a way to save all your information, get it just perfect. So the minute you hit save and it's going out to all these different sites, that everything is in place. So
one other thing is, we do have a Collab Center webinar that starts today at 2 o'clock. So if people want to get in on that, they can still do that.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, and be sure to check out when we'll show this in the Collab Center class, be sure to check out that sell side, because remember, that's a nice way for your seller to see what their competition actually is, because they can't go tour those other properties like we used to. Okay, so another question that I saw was, well, Colleen, why would I do all of this if, if they can't tour the property and they can't write the offer? Well, keep in mind, there are a lot of offers still coming in, and they are subject to the buyer walking through the home. I personally had one that came in last week that was subject to the buyer walking through the home when the governor's order was lifted. And that they would do it within the same time frame as the home inspection was completed. So they were saying, basically, as soon as the government order is lifted, we want to do our home inspection, and our buyer wants to walk through, and it's subject to that. So you're probably thinking, well, why would a person want to do that? Well, right now there is an extremely low amount of inventory. So buyers who have been looking for their dream house for a while are a little frustrated. And when they see this great house pop onto the market, they may not want to lose that home. So there still are a lot of PAs that are coming in that are subject to the buyer walking through when the order is lifted. So don't be surprised if you see that. Dave, did you want to talk to that? I know last time you had a couple points about that.
I think you covered it pretty good. What was it? I don't think there was anything for me to add.
All right, I love that. All right, so once you have the tour in, that's obviously a really big part of it. As Taylor mentioned, you want to make sure you've labeled your photos very well, and because if they're looking at a bathroom, they may not know, okay, where is that bathroom located? So please be sure you're using the labels and descriptions. As you can see here, you can put in a label describing the photo. You can put in your comments, and that's going to let them know exactly what they're looking at. So, if you're taking a picture, if your seller just took a picture of a basement bathroom, well, you want to label it that so that they know where that bathroom is located, because right now they're not walking through. So we're going to have to offer a little more assistance by offering really good labels and descriptions of those properties. As you can see, your video and virtual tour do show up on the reports, so they can be shared. But now we are asking you to also amend showing time. So let's kind of talk about that next. We want you to put your tours, your video property tours, into showing time, and I'll explain why. When you put them into showing time, I still want to know who's interested in my property. I still want to know what agents have interest. And if I drop the price, let's say we drop the price $10,000 on this condo, I want to be able to do things like send mass notifications to everyone who showed the property or everyone who had interest in the property so that they can see that. So I want to keep track of who still has interest in the property, but I don't want anyone walking through these properties because of the government order. So I've changed mine to a go and show, okay, because it was originally confirming with the homeowner. But I've gone down to access details where I normally put in my lockbox here. I'm going to change this to other. And I'm also going to change the access notes to virtual property showing. Okay, then down here where it says notes for the showing agent, I've literally pasted in my, whether it's your YouTube, whatever your link is that you've established for that virtual property showing. And then I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit save. When the buy side agent now requests the showing, they're immediately sent that virtual tour link so they can now see that property. They can also see the attachments. So if you have additional documents, maybe a floor plan, anything along those lines, put them under the attachments so they're automatically sent out to that agent. And that way you're still keeping track of all the agents you want to notify when they're able to actually show that property again. Okay, so a couple things there. Remember, you can also add home snap stories, just like your Facebook story. You can add showing information or your property tour right into the home snap story. And you also want to make sure that you add your links into Paragon because those feed over to your single property website. Now, the cool thing about your single property website, and I'm just going to show you one here. By the way, your single property websites are created automatically for you. There's nothing that you have to do. As soon as you put your listing into Paragon, it will start creating that single property website. And so if I go to my Marcia down here, I can see, okay, here is the single property website for Marcia. If you have a branded tour, meaning it has your contact information, that's what it will pick up on your single property website. So if you don't have a branded tour, that's fine. It will then put in your unbranded tour as a second option. But we want you to promote your listings with the single property website right now for a couple reasons. I'm always amazed when agents are out there sharing things like from Zillow and other places, and they're taking all their hard work, their great photos, their comments, all of that detail that they're putting on their listing, and they're now basically handing it over to those agents who just bought that zip code. Well, remember, when you are sharing your single property website, not only is it easy to share using the social media icons right over here, but it's only sharing you and your other listings and your company information. So they're not seeing those other agents and other companies. It's sharing your information and giving you the lead back. Okay, so make sure you're using the single property website to promote your listings. All right. So next, we want to talk about the setting up of open houses. Now, obviously,
Wait. Can we go back to ShowingTime for a minute?
Sure.
I know you're going to go to the open houses next, but I just did want to cover in ShowingTime, they did add the label for virtual live streaming showings. And because somebody asked the question, well, if all you're doing is putting the video tour and it's a video in ShowingTime, what if somebody wanted to actually have a live showing, more like a live event showing? Yes, you can do that. And right now, you still have to do it the same way that Colleen showed you. The only difference is you'd have to set a time that it's available and block out the other times that it's not available. So if you said, okay, Saturday at 1 o'clock, it's available for a virtual live showing, there's a way to do that currently in ShowingTime, but we're soon, within days, going to be getting the place where you could put, for example, the URL for a Zoom meeting where you could do it virtually, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's very similar. It's very similar to a virtual open house, but I need people to know that you can do it. It's going to end up being the same virtual Zoom type meeting, whether it's a showing or whether it's an open house. But I believe it's an extra advantage to be able to do it as a showing because, like Colleen said, there's all these extra tools that ShowingTime will give you to keep track of who had interest in the property.
Sure. So what Dave is saying is you can actually block out times. So maybe I am just going to allow a Zoom call with me, and maybe I might even have my seller invited so they can actually walk through the property. Now, the only thing about that, and we've discussed this in length, I would not want my seller to say anything. So if I'm saying, you know what, come in between 2 and 3, I would block everything else out. I would allow them to come into my Zoom call between 2 and 3, and I may even have my seller there in case they want to see something. Maybe they want to see how big is the bathroom or something along those lines. So you can go into your listing and you can block that out from your listing so that your Zoom call would be made available between 2 and 3. And then again, you could answer any questions about the property. If the buying agent says, well, how big is the kitchen? I can actually answer those questions live in a Zoom call at that period of time.
Hey, Colleen.
Yes.
We have two quick ones. Can you describe a little bit what the Home Snap story is?
Sure, good question. So the Home Snap story is where you can put in, it's kind of like a Facebook story, but if you go into the Home Snap app for your listing, you will see toward the bottom, it says add your home snap story. And this is where you can go in and and you don't have to be at the property. You can actually do it right from your living room right now, since we're all doing this shelter in place, but you could talk about your listing. So I could say, this is a great new listing that just hit the market. It backs up to the nature preserve at Stony Creek. And some of the features about this home, call me today. So you can actually put your contact information into the home snap story, and you can be talking about the property even if you're not at the property. I'm a huge fan of that.
I think
Remember,
yeah, I think something, if you're familiar with Instagram stories or Facebook stories, it works very similar, where if you've made a Facebook post, it asks you if you want to post it on your wall or you want to add it to a story. You've seen stories on Facebook where people, you can click on a little icon at the top of Facebook and it loops through maybe photos or videos of people. Same, very similar thing, just with HomeSnap. You can have that story of you talking and referring to the property on HomeSnap.
We have another question that says, do you recommend not allowing the listing to go to Zillow? No, I don't believe we mentioned anything about that. We as the MLS make no recommendation on where syndication is going. That's totally up to the broker, and the broker sets that. If the broker wants their listings to go to Zillow, then they go. If they don't, they don't. But the MLS takes no position or opinion on any syndication site. Zillow is a syndication site, Realtor.com is a syndication site, Homes.com is a syndication. So anything that's a syndication site, it's totally up to the broker where they would want their thing to go. Then we had another question about how do you access the single property website. I think maybe if we show them the quick action link, so they know there's another way to get there. There's more than one way to get there.
yes. So as Dave mentioned, there is a link that shows up, a quick action link that shows up right on the MLS listing ticket. So if I click on it, I can get into the single property website from there. Or you can also get there from resources. So if you're in Paragon, you can go up to resources. For MiRealSource members, and this isn't the case for our vendored MLS friends, but for MiRealSource members, you will see list track. And if you are, again, on the actual listing ticket, you can actually click on the single property website icon and you can go in from there. And it can be shared. The nice thing is when people share it, like let's say you had some friends share it on Facebook, it's still sharing my information as the agent. It's not taking on someone else's information. So there's some very, very cool things there. So Taylor, if it's okay, I'm going to turn it over to you to get us going on virtual open houses.
Perfect.
On your way over there, somebody asked the question, is HomeSnap the app? And yes, HomeSnap is an app.
All right.
All right. So make sure that
I'm going to kick it over to you, Taylor.
okay.
I beat you this time. Last time you beat me. So.
My screen started jumping all around for a second. So I was doing it and then I think you started and it kicked me around. So my screen was going a little crazy. All right. So we're going to talk about virtual open houses here. So obviously we can't have people coming into houses or just like showing. So therefore having an open house, what are you supposed to do? How do you as an agent host an open house? So one recommendation that we've came up with is using Facebook events. So you can go onto your Facebook page, whether that's your personal page, which right here, and you can actually go to more and hit events, and you can create your own event. I'll go into details there in just a moment. But you can also do a business page, which if you manage a business page, you could see all the business pages. And from here, you can actually go in and you could do an event, create an event on your business page. So what I recommend doing is actually doing it on your business page and then sharing it to your personal page, because there's a value to doing it to your business page first, because you can boost the event if you would like. And you can then, you're hitting two different audiences, people who like your business page, and then you can reshare it to your personal page and people on your personal page. Sometimes there's some overlap, of course, but there is going to be different followers on each page. So from there, let me just go to, I just created a sample one under my personal page because I didn't want to be in live, a fake event being live under MiRealSource or anything. So I created an event, and what I recommend doing is calling it a virtual open house hosted by your name. You can, it's really easy. So when you schedule that, add the primary photo, label the event virtual open house, the address of the property so that they know if they wanted to look a little more into it, they could, but at least they know the property. And then a little description of what this is all about, this virtual open house, a little teaser about the property, and the time that you're going to be doing this open house. So if you're not familiar with doing Facebook events, the way this works is once you schedule it, you can add all your details and you can invite people to this event. So there'll be an invite button. My event for this class already passed, so I need to actually update the date, but there's an invite button that you can go in and you can invite your guests. They can share it. You can ask people to share your open house. What I recommend doing is scheduling it maybe like 3 days out. 3 days out will allow you to promote a little bit inside the event before it starts. Get the word out, lots of sharing, share some content in the event for everybody that's interested and plans on attending. And then one thing that I did here with the description is I just kind of explained what this virtual experience is going to be. So did you know you can still tour new listings virtually as they hit the market, but now from the comfort of your own home? Join us for a live virtual open house because we are excited to share with you this beautiful 4-bedroom craftsman style home right in the heart of Romeo, Michigan. Gorgeous landscaping and brand new interior. Scheduled the time, added a schedule. You don't have to add a schedule, but I think it's definitely is helpful because it keeps you on track, and it will set kind of an expectation for people who are interested as to what this is all about. I know for me, when I see an event on Facebook, whether it's, you know, whatever it could be, something social, something for kids, something for work, I do like to see a detailed description of what's going to happen, why I want to go, and schedules are also really nice. So for here, the schedule, I put a welcome and an intro to the open house, and then that's scheduled for 10 a.m. Then I also am going to do a live walkthrough, which I'll talk about your options here in just a moment. This is the new territory for you. Don't worry, I'm going to go into detail. And then at the end of the event, I am going to do a discussion and a Q&A with the agent. So I have an idea of the timeline. I'm going to try to stick to that the best that I can. And what I did here is I made Colleen my co-host. So Colleen hypothetically would be my seller. So I scheduled this out in my business page. I invited a bunch of people to it. I shared it to my personal page. I asked people to share it. See if they're interested in attending, just getting more eyeballs, more leads, doing your sellers a great service in this time right now. And then I invite my seller to co-host with me. So once that's created, the details, the schedule, everything, I am going to kind of post for a couple days, just sort of maybe a poll asking people what they're interested in. Right here, do you have any questions about how to purchase a home right now? Get an idea of where people stand. You can respond in the comments to people. Ask people to comment. They could also write comments too. say a post, who's excited for Saturday's open house, get ready with your questions for me in the comments, and so on and so forth. You could post little teaser photos for the couple days leading up to it, but not all the photos of the property. So everybody is going to get notifications of this event if they're interested in it or they plan on attending. They're going to see this. They'll get a notification once the event is going on. And what's even cooler is if you go live as the agent in your event, you can follow this schedule. So you can schedule this event. What I would do is have it open on my laptop, and then I would open up the event on my smartphone and go live right from my phone at my own home, welcome people, talk about the property a little bit, give an introduction of what this virtual open house is going to be. And then at 10:05, my seller is going to go live walking through the house. So now your co-host, he or she can get on their phone, walk through their house. What I recommend is that they do not speak. They just talk about, I'm in the living room, I'm in the kitchen, showing the house. A few minutes of walking through the house. Ask them to hold their questions until the end. The live stream will show up on your event. So even if they do ask questions under the seller's live, you'll still be able to see them. Then you get on live after your seller's done the walkthrough and ask people what they think, write their questions below, do a quick Q&A. That way you are still taking full control. You still have everything. You, the licensed agent, are the ones still talking about the property. You don't have to worry about anything, but that seller has been coached and knows how to walk through the home and knows not to say anything. And then after the fact, that live will be shared. Other people can watch it. It's not like it's done forever. That's an event that people can always see it, which I like that. I know some businesses that do lives regularly, and that live stream stays on their wall. So even if the live isn't going on right now, they can go back and rewatch it. Another option you have, if you're not comfortable with your seller doing that, or your seller isn't tech savvy enough to be walking through, they don't use Facebook, nothing like that. What you can do is you can just schedule the posting of the video tour that you have. You got to the point where they could at least do a video and send it to you. And now you have that video tour. You can promote this event. You can, beef it up for a couple days, then share a link to the tour, tell people to leave their questions and comments below, and you can respond, or you can go live responding to their questions and talking about it. So you have options there in terms of how you want to do the open house. Another thing that Colleen brought up that I thought was a really good idea is using other platforms to do a stream as well. So you could use Zoom or Skype, and you could put that link in to the event as well if you would rather invite people or have people join a Zoom link instead of a live as well. Colleen, do you wanna chime in on anything about what you did where that idea kind of evolved?
No, I think you did a great job covering it. Some of the things that I did too when we were doing our open house is I actually did a Zoom call I promoted it on Facebook, just as you saw Taylor do, creating an event. And I had in the background, I had HomeSnap open. So I could literally take them through the neighborhood and the gallery photos. And obviously the tour is there. So it was very cool because I was able to share that right on my phone so that they could literally walk down the street right from the HomeSnap app. It was really cool. I think we'll probably have to hold a whole class on that.
Share your screen, right?
Right.
So where Facebook Live, it doesn't have that option to share your screen. It's just your camera on your phone. Where if you use another platform like Skype or maybe even GoToMeeting, Zoom, they have a button where you can share your screen. So you could have other things pulled up while you're still talking to people on the Zoom who clicked on the Zoom link. So you have the option as to how you want to talk to your audience.
The advantage of the Zoom and then sharing it through HomeSnap, I saw Colleen's, I attended Colleen's open house, and even though Colleen was sitting at her own home, she was able to, during the open house, show the video tour, show the photos, walk around outside. It was really, really cool that she was at her house, but she was showing people that attended her open house, which was a live hosted Zoom meeting, everything that they would need to see about the house. And she was there to answer questions about it as well. Another thing.
You guys were like collaborating, you and the seller, because the seller was also on the Zoom meeting, right, Colleen?
Correct.
So what we have,
Live, one person can go live at a time. So the Zoom allows you to collaborate with that seller, and they can be walking through while you're talking at the same time.
So the Facebook Live is where, if you want to have the seller, the one that Colleen is talking about, hosting a Zoom meeting, that would be where you don't want the seller involved, and doesn't have to be involved at all. And it works great. So we had a question here that says, so the seller is doing the live walkthrough. Yes, if you're doing it that way, you don't have to do it that way, but if you're doing it that way, yeah, the seller can be.
Yeah, you're technically not there doing it. Now, if moving forward, this ends up being a really great way to get eyeballs on the property, you can do virtual open houses and actually be at the house once this is lifted, and still promote online and still do the traditional open house while you're there. But for this situation, your seller would have to do it. You just have the option of only sharing a video and going live on Facebook, just you, going live on Facebook between you and your seller. Or like what Colleen discovered and did is the Zoom, and have your seller on the Zoom, you on the Zoom, anybody who clicked on the link in the event on the Zoom, and then everybody is participating all at the same time, which is really cool. Zoom's been a really great platform for us at MiRealSource for a couple of years now, maybe like a year and a half or so. We've used it a lot. A lot of people are using it now, and there's a question saying they've seen Zoom get hacked. Yeah, there's been some hacking, but I don't think that that's something that you can always kick people off if somebody jumped on, but I don't think that I think it's the most user-friendly, easy platform, and did a lot of research on virtual programs from a couple years ago, and now just more and more people are using Zoom because of this. So I don't think it's a problem, but it's up to you to decide what your comfort level is.
Well, and Zoom had a release just yesterday to try and combat some of those issues. So they're
lots
changing.
of updates. They've been doing lots of updates.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes on that. One other thing though, the single property website is two things about it. Is somebody said, how do I find it? Well, there was the resources and list track, and then there was the single property website link that Colleen showed you. The other thing is that I
should be sharing it right now. It's this little house icon with a check. We'll take you to it.
Yep. And then the other thing is, you'll also, if you're the listing agent, you'll receive an email saying that it's ready. So it renders within, I think it renders within an hour, is it? Or around there? I
think I usually get mine pretty quickly, usually within about 15-20 minutes. I usually get the email that says
that's pretty fast. So you'll get an email as well. And the other thing is we are working right now to get the open house, because we're now having expanded versions of open house inside Paragon. You'll be able to label it as a virtual open house. And once they have the link there, which should be in a few days, once Paragon has the ability for you to put that, for example, the Zoom link in there, the single property website, we're working on making that have the virtual open house available on the single property website. So then you can share the single property website on Facebook and other social media to help get the word out. And that single property website is perfect because it's all about you. And so that's a perfect vehicle for you to be sharing it on social media.
So here's
Taylor?
the single property website. There's the virtual tours right now that are there. So if you were to add the tours into those links that Colleen shows, those are right there for you. What's going to be there is once the virtual tour field is enabled in scheduling on open house, there'll be either an icon or a banner. I'm not exactly sure what the specs are on that will have the details with a link to your virtual open house. So whether that was
Taylor, can I steal it back from you and show them where it's not completed yet? So keep in mind that we're still in the process. It's not officially live yet, but let me show you where you're going to see that. Right now, you could traditionally go in and add an open house, like if you were having an open house on Sunday. But obviously now with the government order in place, if you go into maintain your listing, and again, this will be at the end of the week, this will be all turned on for you, so you'll be able to use it. Some of it is already there. It's just not 100% complete yet. So if I go to add an open house, I'm going to click add new, and you're going to see right now it defaults to live stream open house. I'm going to pick my day and time, and I'm going to be able to paste my URL right in here. So keep in mind, it's not 100% complete yet. They're still working on the clickable URL, but now this will then show up on my property as an open house, and people will be able to click on it and see when they're able to join that Zoom call. So that's coming.
Once the governor's order is lifted, that will give them a choice of either the live stream virtual open house or a in-person open house. There'll be a choice once the governor lifts the restriction.
Correct. And keep in mind, we have to be creative about, like, showing the neighborhoods, and we're obviously having to do things a little different. I just had somebody ask me, well, there's a little park nearby. What does the park look like? Well, keep in mind, if you're doing a Zoom call or you're doing something like that and you have HomeSnap, the app on your phone, then remember, you can do the same thing. So if I wanted to show them what this park looked like, I'm in Paragon, but you could do this in HomeSnap too. I'm going to literally grab my little Google man here. I'm going to set them right in front of the park. And look, they can literally walk down the pier of the park and see a 360 view of what that beach looks like, what the park looks like. So there's a lot of very cool things you can do right from the HomeSnap app. Even though we can't get in our car and drive there like we'd used to, if they want to see the cute little downtown New Baltimore, again, here's the other side of that park. So you saw the water. They can literally walk down the street and do a 360 view of the beach, the park, the little downtown area. And you could do this on a Zoom call. Again, I did this on my phone through HomeSnap, the exact same thing, where I shared my phone screen in the Zoom app. I'm talking to people and I can still take them on a tour where they can now see the cute little quaint downtown area. The lady from Grosse Pointe called me and said, I'd like to focus on some pictures from the beach and the parks that they could actually go to. And so I said, add those pictures. Add those pictures in, focus on those pictures, allow them to use the Google Maps where they can walk down the street and focus on that cute little downtown area. So we have to be a little bit more creative, but there's a lot of great ways to do that now. And then for the person who asked about the HomeSnap stories, I'm going to show you on the desktop app just because it's a little easier for the sake of time. But yes, it's mainly used as your MLS app, so you have everything there. But if you go down on your listing, down toward the bottom, you will see home snap stories. It looks like this. This is where you can add your own home snap or your own little, couple minute tour of your property, telling them not at the property, but from your living room, you can tell them all about this great new listing that you have. So don't be afraid to utilize some of those other tools, and those are really great when you're doing the virtual open houses. All right, do we have any last questions? I think that was my last thing I had. Was showing the, Dave, did I miss anything you wanted us to cover?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Just see if anybody's got any last questions.
All right.
Yep, I'm looking at the outline. It looks like you covered, covered everything. Google Map. Yep, you're good.
Thank you, Chris Van Bell, for manning the chat for us. Great job. Chris was on the call, and I'm sorry I forgot to get you over to the other side there for a minute. So thank you, Chris, for all your hard work and answering all the questions. We love your feedback. So if there's something you would like to know more about, please let us know. And we also have the Collaboration Center class at 2 o'clock, I think you said it was, Dave?
Yeah.
2 o'clock today. So if you go right inside of Paragon in the class calendar, you can actually register for the upcoming class, or all of our classes are now listed there too.
And I also updated, while you were going over some stuff, Colleen, I updated the checklist to a PDF, and I also added that. So there's both a JPEG and a PDF attached in the handouts here for you guys to download as well.
Awesome. So if you go to the handouts portion of the GoToWebinar right now, Taylor has the PDF version of the photo staging and the PDF version of the open house. You can click on them, you can print them, you can save them. So keep in mind those are there for you as a resource. And if nobody has any additional questions, I just want to thank you so much for coming. Thanks so much for your time. So stay home, stay safe, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you guys again very soon in our classrooms.
Bye, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, all. Thanks.